Greg, we're back.
We are back.
We were just talking about off camera not having things perfect, right? And, you know, we're in a new space, but remodeled space. I've had the vision of remodeling the space for literally 23 years. And so we're like here.
Yeah.
It's almost done. But there's nothing on the walls yet. There's, you know, it is what it is.
It's a new home.
Right. And so we're going to get into it. But first, let's introduce our guest today.
Absolutely.
You going to do that or should she do it?
I think she can introduce herself.
Yeah, that's probably best.
I'll introduce myself. I'm Naomi Saylor, and I am just a local citizen that I've probably lived here at least 14 years and then several years before that, but really like it. Really love being around here. So thanks for inviting me onto the show.
Yeah, I told you I was going to keep inviting you until you said yes.
I know.
That's literally the way I worded it. That's just how I am.
Mm-hmm. It's good.
We're going to talk about how whether or not Nancy Pelosi supports Team USA, because she's kind of been, you know, not real supportive of the team. First, just a very special thank you to all who have supported me since the beginning of the journey of just shining a light on difficult things, on hard answers. Thank you so much for doing that. This is for you. I'm Matt Logan, the host of This Matters in Real Life. Oh, hey, stay tuned at the end of this. I'll give you some more information. I think in general, that is anti-American, if you ask me.
Sure.
Whether you believe it or not, being anti-American. It's confusing because some of the things, actually what was very interesting is I took a Lyft ride near San Francisco last week.
Wow. Imagine
that.
Weird.
And we talk about that all the time because what I do for a living, or what I do to pay the bills that I have, is I travel.
Sure.
And they don't like her. Most of the people in San Francisco area, they don't like Nancy Pelosi. And so they're very disheartened by the way she's kind of been anti-American. And so we decided we were going to talk about it this week. Naomi, why don't you start us off weighing a little bit on that?
Sure. The media, there's videos always out there and articles. I did notice that she was giving some warnings, which, you know, if we're talking about what's currently going on, which would be the Olympics. And so she's kind of coming to the public in this mama bear role, I thought it looked like. And she seems to not really care about maybe the local, where she has jurisdiction and where she's supposed to care for the local community. But yet all of a sudden have this big shocking news of Americans, be careful, behave good. Well, there's a lot of misbehavior going on even in the city. People living on sidewalks and just not improper use of bathroom facilities.
So many people would tell you that's fake news.
Sure.
And it's difficult to know what to believe, right?
Because absolutely.
And I talk about this all the time. And let me tell you personally, I listen to a lot of different things. I listen to liberal podcasts, progressive podcasts. I watch progressive news, liberal news, conservative, you know, all of it.
Yeah.
And I do that because that actually helps me form my opinion.
Yes, it does.
Rather than getting it from one side and say, Tucker's opinion is my opinion, right? Without saying it that way, or, you know, something along those lines. And what's really interesting to me is the people that say that it's fake news, they live in an area and they dwell in that area and they don't ever go outside of that area. And I am fortunate enough to see some of those different things in the areas. And I'm just going to say it. I had my Lyft driver take me by some of those areas last fall, I guess it would be.
Okay.
And saw a guy drop his drawers and there on the sidewalk as we're going through.
Wow.
You know, it's no joke. I'm like, you hear about it, but it's exactly true. It's
so you actually saw it.
I saw it. With these two eyes.
Sure.
Not on a video.
Right.
Not on any some newscast being hyperbolic saying it doesn't exist or it's not very bad.
Because it makes you wonder if people are just staging crisis, you know, to create a need for more emergencies or more, government swooping in to try to help us all.
Well, and we've
But-
seen crises stage.
Yeah.
It's so to think that is what's happening in San Francisco is a pretty legitimate thought.
Right.
I mean, how many times have you seen a protest that looks like the city's burning down? Well, then they back up and it's like 50 people,
Sure.
not the 5,000 that are around the corner
Right.
that are protesting peacefully.
Mm-hmm.
Canada, or
Yeah.
So it's not hard to believe that, but there's just so much footage out there of what appears to really be happening in San Francisco. So I'm glad that you were able to maybe eyewitness
Yeah.
the mess yourself.
Well, and it concerns me that she has been in office for a very long time.
Yes.
It becomes a thought process, from my view, that maybe it's a business to her. Maybe this is a corporation that she feels like she owns. And well, thank God she has some ownership in that job. But it shouldn't be a job. It should be a service to citizens.
I think that's a good point. And I think, there's a lot of people that say term limits and all those kinds of things. And maybe that's an okay idea as long as it's, I think about some of the things in my life that they say, 10,000 hours to become an expert. If you're going to be a guitar player, it takes 10,000 hours of practice. So years.
Mm-hmm.
And so you think about it that way. It's like, well, yeah, you get into politics like that. First off, it's sad that it's called politics.
Right.
There's that. But then you get into it, and what happens is it's going to take years to figure out really how to navigate it.
Right.
As long as you're trying to do that for the people, for your constituents,
Yep.
and not for the political game,
Right.
to keep friends in high places.
Mm-hmm.
Is that the song?
Yeah, that's what Garth would say.
Yeah, that's what
We're
he
not
says.
singing it right.
Yeah, not waiting
Yeah.
Garth either.
No.
Hmm.
And so that's the thing. It's like, okay, she stays in office that long. I've never run into somebody that likes her. How is that possible?
Right.
All those different things. So there's all those questions raised. So I think that, when you look at something like what's happening with the Olympics, and she's like saying, hey, keep your mouth shut, essentially.
Yep.
I mean, she didn't quite say it that way, but she told the athletes
certain
to
way.
just
She said everything but.
right.
Yeah.
And so it's like, well, so you don't like America?
Yeah. What was the message there? Was it like there's genuine fear, I think, of ramifications of Americans' misbehavior? So who calls the shots for that?
Yes.
Because all the years I've watched the Olympics, Americans could display anything that they felt was correct, their joy of winning or the competition, or just to really even show their solidarity for our country. And I thought that was kind of the point in sportsmanship, to recognize the different, they're saluting this way, so they're probably from this country, or they're wearing these kinds of clothes to compete, or these colors and stuff. It signifies something, doesn't it?
It would, you would hope so.
You would hope so.
Well, and I mean, let's be honest. Very few of our U.S. Olympic athletes haven't left the best impressions thinking Rio.
Sure.
Yeah.
And
Sure.
some of the fiascos that happened there. But I don't think she should be the poster child for our government asking our athletes to be behaved.
It's a good way to put
She
it.
represents one area. I mean, she's the epitome of a rhino.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be coming from her of how athletes should act. And by her making any comments, it makes it political. And the Olympics shouldn't be political whatsoever. It's
Yeah.
not supposed to be political.
Right.
But she's making it that way. And she needs to watch her own bobber.
That's his line.
Yeah, that's
What
kinda
is it
my
again?
line. Watch your own bobber.
That's good.
And I mean, yes, things have happened to athletes. I think it was back in Germany in the 70s when some
Well, it
athletes
even
were
goes as
taken
far back
hostage.
to the 30s.
30s, yeah.
And yeah.
Okay. But I think in current days, I can't imagine the Chinese government kidnapping any American athletes. I would hope not.
Yeah.
But maybe a stern warning behind closed doors would be the worst that they would see. But let these guys and gals, let these athletes enjoy their moment. and not have to worry about what Nancy Pelosi says.
The question that I would ask is, if they're worried about China, why are they worried?
Mm-hmm.
And B, why are we so intertwined with them
Mm-hmm.
if they are worried? Which then circles back to anti-American.
Mm-hmm.
Is she?
And
who decided that it gets to be at that location in the middle of what the world's
Communist
facing
China.
right now?
And C, if it's that bad, why are we there?
Yeah.
If we're going to boycott it.
Yeah.
Either all or nothing.
And that's the thing is this has nothing to do with the government. The
No.
Olympics are not
No.
tied to any type of government
No.
agency or
Right.
whatever. So it's like, let's be careful here. But the bigger question is she anti-American? I mean, that is really like, you see something like this.
Makes you wonder.
So what kind of questions do we need to ask with that? I mean, she's been vocal about this for a while. I think it goes back to last year. In May of 2021. That's the oldest article that I have. May of 2021, she talks about boycotting the Olympics of 2022. And
Wow.
so it's not that this is not something that she's just jumping on right now. But let's be honest about it. She's come out and said how everybody needs to get along on a world stage,
What about her own backyard?
And right.
Yeah.
And so she's made a lot of money
Sure.
in her career.
Hundreds of millions of dollars.
Right.
Well, that's what I was going to ask. Is there a financial incentive for, are there for a certain country winning these Olympics? Are there any
think
kind of
the
insurances
athletes,
that
but-
get affected by misbehaviors? Are there, does that make sense? Are there people that if they get reprimanded or if they get,
Are there
someone,
fines
you know what I
for
mean?
misbehavior?
Like, does someone get fined for this? Is that why there's this?
That's a good question.
It
Yeah.
wouldn't be coming
Makes
from
you
her.
wonder.
It would be coming from the U.S. Olympic Committee.
True.
I would assume who would pay for those fines.
Because they have to be insured on some level, right? These
Right.
people's, I don't know. You can purchase travel insurance. So I would assume you could have Olympic athlete insurance.
You're swimming for the U.S. Olympic team. We're going to need a bigger rider.
Right.
And so I guess the thing that let me say it like this: the Olympics, where did they come from? Where did they start? When did they
It's a
start?
good question.
Greece.
Thousands of years ago. You know what they did back then? Even if they were at war with another country in the Olympics, the athletes always had passage. They would always be left alone. It was not political. It was not about that. It was about the commonality of people and what can bring people together, and not political, not any of that kind of stuff. And so maybe we should get back to that.
It's kind of awesome to think about because it shows you humanity can stand down and be at peace and come together. So if it's possible to come together for sports and for the enjoyment of that, the competition, maybe it's possible during more than just a sporting event.
It could be, but Nancy Pelosi, stop meddling in places that you don't belong.
The world has enough mothers. No.
Right?
My opinion of her is she's in it for herself. I mean, you've seen that with talking to her constituents in San Francisco, and you see all the things with financial meddling and buying and selling stocks before these huge bills are passed. I mean, if there's a board of ethics in our nation's capital, I think she would be the poster child of most wanted. I mean, she doesn't pass the smell test to me, and this isn't helping her at all.
Well, and it's really for someone that everybody knows her name when you say her name, that I am aware, even my little kids know who that is. If you say it, they could tell you. They probably would describe what she looks like, but they would even
Wicked
know.
Witch. No, wait. Did I?
I didn't hear anything. So, I mean, but people just know that there's a level of evil intention with her just from the way she communicates publicly and how she talks about people who don't agree with her. for people who don't want her. She's probably really flustering and fluttering. I don't know if these are words to use, but thinking she's going to be unseated. So she has a queen mentality.
Right.
She's been around so long. I couldn't imagine being in power and then
Off with their heads.
I mean, that's what it would probably feel like to her.
Yeah.
So.
And I think what's happened the last year and a half, that queen may fall. I hope for the sake of the country. I hope so.
Let's wrap up with this question. Do you know where she bought her retirement home fairly recently?
Haven't looked into that.
I'm going to guess on the coast because global warming of the ice caps.
Texas.
That would be a Florida coast.
Okay, Texas. No. Was it Florida?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yes. Yes.
That's kind of, what's the word for that? Actually, we live in America. It's a free country. She can buy property wherever she wants. No.
She can, absolutely. But it's
I'll still be opinionated,
it's
but
it's very hypocritical, if you ask me.
it is.
If you can't buy and live in an area that you have developed for 30 years,
Yeah.
or 35 or whatever it is,
Sure.
is like, not sure. Yeah.
San Fran? Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you know where it is in Florida, or is it
I
just
don't
kind of
remember.
okay.
When I was looking at this, I look at little bits and pieces basically, and I had seen that, and
That's
I'm like,
interesting.
that's interesting.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah, could be. No, I think you're right. Hey, if you like the show, make sure that you hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications, because that is key. Even when you have the notifications on, sometimes you miss us. So make sure that you give us a 5-star rating, because, Craig's going to try and grow a beard if you do that. See you next time. Hey, everybody. Thanks for listening to this conversation that I just had. I was very honored to be a part of it, honored to be the host of This Matters in Real Life. I think it's extremely important to cover a lot of different things and topics and get people's opinions. When my daughter died in the car crash 10 years ago, I said that's what I would do. I would look at the answers, I would look at the truth, and I would make sure that they would intersect. They would not divorce each other. It's so often that we want answers that are not the truth. We want answers that are comfortable. We want answers that make us feel good. Well, there's a lot of things in life that it's not the case. So who am I? Well, I am you. I'm no different than you are. I eat and sleep and, all the different things. Same thing that you do. I hurt. I feel joy. I've had a lot of experience, probably just like you. I work hard, probably just like you. One of the things that you can do to support us is go to shinybrandmerch.com, where you'll see things like the sweatshirt that I have on. I work. I'm a full-time, a truck driver. What do I deliver? I deliver trucks. It's a little bit different of a gig than a normal truck driver, yes, but I am what would be considered a commercial vehicle transport specialist. So about 5 to 6 days a week, I deliver trucks. I get into a truck, I go 2,000 miles, I deliver it to its new owner, I get on an airplane and I go find another one. Nothing real glamorous unless you make it that way. And I've decided that I would have a lot of conversations along the way, and some of those conversations I'll be able to share with you. Again, hey, thanks for your support. Appreciate you. We'll see you next time.